All right. Welcome, one and all, to the Off the Rails Sports Podcast. Happy 4th of July, one and all. If you could, hit that like and subscribe button. It means a lot to us. And we are here on the 4th of July, halfway through the baseball season. How you doing today, Brian?
I'm doing good. I got a workout in this morning already, which is
Oh,
rare. I
beautiful.
usually don't work out till the afternoon, so I got it done this morning. Then I'm
Hmm.
on the road, you know, as
Hmm.
usual, just
Of course.
just making stuff happen.
You do. You're the magic man. You're on
Everything
the road.
except a mount for my phone.
Yeah, I know. One of these days, we're going to be able to live stream Brian dying in a fiery crash. And then his wife's going to go, why did you have to make him do that? I'm being like, I tried to talk to him. I tried to talk to him, but he didn't have any free time. He has 30
No,
CrossFit classes a day. He works, he builds wildlife sanctuaries in the backyard, and he doesn't have time for the phone.
I don't have time to go on Amazon and make 2 clicks.
Oh, you're the best. You are the best.
You know what? When
Uh,
people start paying us to subscribe to our channel, maybe I can take the
yes,
money and invest.
yes. You can get a personal assistant, to help you with the larvae. God bless. God bless. All right, let's talk about the wonderful world of baseball. And obviously, the highlight of this week was Clayton Kershaw, the 20th member of the 3,000 strikeout club. Let me give you some quick stats. Fourth left handed starter pitcher to achieve that milestone, Randy Johnson, Steve Carlton, and CC Sabathia. I was really stunned that he got that many strikeouts. Boy, that guy had a pretty amazing career. He couldn't keep off the bottle, but boy, he really had a really great arm, huh?
CC he had a very long career too,
He did.
and
He did.
the last few years, similar to Clayton Kershaw, a lot of time on the IL. Uh, it's amazing how when a guy like CC Sabathia, he was overweight his whole career, and then as soon as he quits playing ball and he's no longer a professional athlete, he drops all the weight.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah,
And you see that guy
exactly.
now; he doesn't look anything like he did when he played. It's like, you know, some of these guys, they just let that go. Same thing happened to Tony Gwynn, and they end up with.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, don't worry about that. Can you hear me? All right. We're at that place.
There we go.
Okay.
There you go.
All
Somebody
right.
tried calling me.
Oh, goody. Okay, goody. All right. You're a busy man. You're like Scott Boras. The phone's always going. It's
It
it's the
is.
hub. It's the hub. Yeah, CC Sabathia was quite the pitcher. There's two active pitchers currently who have 3,000 strikeouts, other than Clayton. Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer. It's obviously very rarefied air. He's the fourth fastest to 3,000 strikeouts in history. He is Johnson. Randy Johnson was the fastest. Scherzer was the second fastest, which surprised me. Pedro was the third, and he was the fourth. He did it in 2,787 innings. Randy Johnson did it in 300 less innings. Man, that guy had a. You really look at Randy Johnson's
Where was
career.
Nolan in that?
He wasn't there. He wasn't in the top five. I don't know. I didn't look, but
How does that happen?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe because he only pitched 65 years, man. He only pitched 65 years. But you start looking at the numbers. Clemens had 7 Cy Youngs, Pedro 3, Clayton Kershaw's got 3 too. I started really deep diving into the stats. His stats are actually very, very comparable to Sandy Koufax's. And Sandy Koufax had the higher mound. I mean, I really think Clayton Kershaw is a very, very underrated pitcher in the pantheon of great pitchers of all time. What do you think about that?
I think you're 100% correct because we live in a society that is so focused now on, the conversation of the GOAT, right?
Right,
And
right.
and it's mostly measured by championships. And Clayton Kershaw has, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt here and we'll say 2. But in 2020, it wasn't a real season from the traditional standpoint, right? Didn't play a
Okay.
whole lot, didn't pitch a whole lot of games. Everything was the competition was watered down because you had, plenty of guys that just opted not to play that year. So that one you don't really think of. And then last year, he didn't even really play on the team hardly. So, and
Okay.
what he's mostly remembered for is his playoff failures. And that's the reason I think he gets overlooked in the top of all time pitchers. I mean, look at this guy's ERA.
Well, actually, his ERA career is 2.52,
Yeah, that's
and
outrageous. That's incredible.
yeah, it really is. And his WHIP is 1.01, which, let me give you comparable stats for Sandy Koufax. His ERA was 2.76, and his WHIP was 1.11. I mean, it's pretty insane, right?
Yeah. Clayton Kershaw was so great, those first 10, 12 years of his career
Sure.
that it gets overlooked now that, he's only pitching, 10 or 12 games a year, spending a lot of time
Right.
on the IL. And then
Hmm.
the biggest moments of his career in the postseason, he failed.
Well,
And I think his actual greatness gets overlooked because of that.
I agree. I agree. But let me ask you this. If you look at postseason resumes, okay, Clayton Kershaw does not have a very good one, okay? But let's talk about Greg Maddux, which a lot of people would say is in the top 5 pitchers ever. His playoff record is not very good. I mean, he only won one title with those Braves teams that were just like murderers row, right? Literally
Right.
probably had the best pitching staff ever assembled.
But and I don't know off the top of my head,
Right.
and I'm not looking at any stats, and I don't know if you have anything with Greg Maddux there. But when you think of Greg Maddux in the postseason, sure there was only one win, but are there those moments where he gave up the losing home run, time and time again, like Kershaw did, or did he hand it off to his bullpen and his bullpen blew it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
So,
mean,
Roger Clemens didn't have a stellar postseason career.
no, no, absolutely not. But sometimes, I mean, I'm sure Randy Johnson didn't because he didn't get there a lot, right? I mean, at
Right.
the end of the day, I do think pitchers are looked under a different prism. Sandy Koufax, obviously, I think most people would acknowledge is in the running for the top 2 pitchers of all time. And he did produce in that 6 year run. He won him 3 titles, right? And that guy was giving the ball.
And it actually works out in his benefit that he had to retire early because he never had the end of the career downfall. That even if it wouldn't have been, where he became just a mediocre pitcher for the last 5 years,
Right.
he retired at the top of his game.
Yeah.
That's going to help his legacy as an all-time great. You
I,
never
you know,
saw him as just average.
Yeah, I get. I don't. I've never really bought into that whole argument. I'm going to tell you why. Because Muhammad Ali, his last fight was he lost to Trevor Burbick. You know, Sugar Ray Robinson lost his last 2 or 3. Like Pedro at the end was not very good, right? But you do remember that marvelous 10 year run where he was literally the best pitcher who ever lived, right? At the end of the day, I think the end is kind of in this sports media cycle. It's overblown because everybody says, "Oh, yesterday was the game that meant everything." And I don't necessarily know. I mean, in the last 30 years, who would you say is the best pitcher? Let's start from Greg Maddux, Pedro, Randy Johnson, Roger Clemens.
So
Let's throw
you
him
say
in.
you say so going to say from 1990.
Yeah.
I would probably say off the top of my head, my not my favorite, but thinking who is probably the best, I would probably say Randy Johnson. Not my favorite, but
Yeah, yeah, I
probably the
understand.
best.
Right.
Probably the best. But see, here's what I'm going to throw it back to. what I said, what everybody remembers, the what have you done lately and stuff like that. When Clayton Kershaw's career is over and it's 5 years, he's up for eligibility to Hall of Fame. He's a first ballot no doubter. Nobody's going to remember the last 5 years of his career where he spent all the time on the IL.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're
100%
going to say
correct.
this guy was one of the greatest ever.
And they are, and they'll
It's
be
just that
right.
that's what people are thinking of now.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're in the day-to-day minutia, right? I mean,
Yes.
we're seeing him pitch, like you say, 8 times a year. And we're
And he
going,
only,
he's the fourth.
and he's throwing 5 2/3 instead of 8.
Right. Right. Absolutely. You look at the pitchers in that time span. Clemens won 7 Cy Youngs. Pedro won 3. Johnson won 5. Maddox 4. Verlander and Scherzer both won 3. Clayton's won 3 himself. Um, I'm a homer. I mean, I think you're right. I think if you just look at the raw stats, Randy Johnson probably is the best one. But I just remember that 10-year run with Pedro where he was
Yeah.
pitching in the American League against every steroid jacked up human being. And, we didn't have much on our team except that guy coming out of the bullpen against Cleveland in 97 and everybody on the other team going, oh, we're in trouble.
Yeah, I
You know,
100%.
Well, I mean, you're right, though. If you just look at it in an objective lens, I think you're right. I think Randy Johnson does have to be the best pitcher in the last 30 years, but whatever. I'm gonna throw some quick stats at you. The Yankees are in second place in the AL East. They are 13 and 19 since May 28th. Is there a problem in New York?
Uh, well, a little bit, if you're 13 and 19, then you're not having a good run right now. But is it a major downfall that's just going to continue to twist and spiral into the depths of like Red Sox Nation? I don't think
Oh
so.
God, I hope not.
They're
Jesus,
gonna
why you got to ruin my whole day?
they're gonna
You know?
they're gonna they're gonna figure some stuff out. They'll be okay. They're in a little bit of a bad stretch. Everybody has one.
Yeah, yeah.
They'll get it. I'm
They-
not
they-
I'm not concerned of the Yankees missing the playoffs if that's what you're getting at.
I'm not kidding. You know what? I'm going to tell you something. You look at that AL East. You got Toronto at 49 and 38. You got the Yankees at 48 and 39. But man, Tampa Bay is breathing right down their neck. I mean, that
Yes.
team, that honestly in the American League, Brian, that is the big surprise team for me. They are 20 and 14 away from home. Most of their games have been at home, but they're not really that formidable there. They're 28 and 25. They're actually better on the road, which is surprising.
Well, technically, all their games are on the road this year.
Yeah, I guess you're right there, right? Yeah, you got me on that one.
Even when
And
they play at home, they're playing in Yankee Stadium.
oh God, they're playing in Steinbrenner Stadium. Mini Bronx, right?
Yep.
All right, let's wrap it up. Um, we got some all-stars out there.
Do
All-star
we?
game is in a week and a half. Tigers got 3 players: Gilbert Torres, Riley Green, Javier Baez. Dodgers, the greatest team ever: Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, Shohei, the best player ever. Cubs got 2.
Okay.
What surprised me is Jacob Wilson from the Athletics edged out Bobby Witt at shortstop in the fan vote. I think the
Heck yeah.
fans got it right, though.
Yeah. He's a
Okay.
better player right now this year.
Yeah, but
We're
usually
voting
there's a
on this
legacy
year,
thing, right?
usually.
Yeah, I
It's not
know,
always
right?
appropriate. It's not always appropriate.
Well, God, man. Yeah. Okay. So you got any other good wishes for everybody out there on the 4th of July, my friend?
Oh, no. Have a good 4th of July. Uh, Eat some meat.
Okay. Okay.
Celebrate.
I still
And
embrace our vegan followers. Continue,
uh,
please.
yeah,
They might
eat some
like and
meat.
subscribe. Hmm.
Eat some meat and have a great weekend.
Okay. Wow. Have you ever thought that you're kind of becoming Kenny Powers?
No.
The greatest baseball player who never was. All right. That's it today, everybody, from Off the Rails Sports Podcast. Have a good 4th of July. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you soon on Off the Rails.